So one of the things that really surprises people about the inner critic is that it shows up most strongly when we're actually going for our authentic lives and moving towards what our souls long for. And that's very, it can be a little confusing for people because we also tend to get a message, particularly even in the personal growth world, we get a message that if we're following our souls, and if we're on our right path, isn't it going to feel resonant and are things going to flow and the universe is going to show up? Yeah, all of that is true some of the time. And for most people, there is this experience that the minute they really articulate the real dream or they start to stretch, it's like the inner critic just comes rushing in with all kinds of sophisticated arguments and narratives. Oh, wouldn't it be better if you took this course first, or you need the right equipment, or here's why you're the wrong one to do it, or people would really need this, or whatever. And we have to be really wise about that. And it's challenging to discern that that's what's happening and work around it.
And that's what I feel like has been inspiring working with my own clients and doing my own work with what I'm calling my inner hater is,
I love that.
Is that seeing that emerge precisely at the times when we're expanding, and sort of the metaphor that I've been using is like that sometimes we enter into contraction before we expand even bigger, and just sort of reminding from a sort of bird's eye view from the longer journey that it's sort of natural and normal to be afraid about change and the unknown. But certainly supporting women in taking that journey and exploring those different parts of ourselves that absolutely need to emerge.
Yeah, that's a beautiful metaphor. I love that. Because we really are stretching ourselves when we leave our comfort zones. And to expect to do that without any internal resistance is maybe an unfair expectation to have of ourselves.
Yeah. And so, it's nice to have the reminder that, we all have this inner critic, this inner hater, and working to have, the other thing that was interesting is that sometimes the compassion that emerges, like part of it is like, oh, this inner critic is bad and gets in my way and is not necessarily supporting me or tricks me into thinking that she's a wise voice. But then paradoxically, how when we treat the inner critic with some compassion and understands that, you're here to protect me. I understand that, and what you advise, thanks, but no thanks, that this is not really where I'm headed.
Yeah, right. Because, it's one of the things that's so interesting about when I work with women around their inner critics is that once they get that character vision clear, and anyone can do this once you've got that character, then you can go ask that character, so what's your fundamental motivation or intention in doing all this? What are you trying to do with all this critique and everything that you're, blasting me with all day? And people will always be able to actually have a felt sense of how that critic is trying to protect them from any possible harm, any possible emotional risk or failure, right? So I can use myself as an example. I still have lots of inner critic with my own writing, and sometimes I'll want to submit to, a new publication that's maybe more prestigious or feels like a bigger deal to me. And my inner critic might start going about why this article is really not the right one. This article is actually terrible now that I look at it a second time. How could I send it off? It's clunky, or it's cheesy, or it's not grounded, whatever. Well, why is it saying all that? It's saying all of that because it's trying to do anything possible from sending off the article, because it never wants me to experience any possible rejection or even stress of potential rejection. So the inner critic's goal is just to keep things, super status quo, super safe. And of course, the problem is that safety and fulfillment are not at all the same, and they're often in tension with each other.